Is it ethical to sell mindfulness apps, teach people meditation classes, or even use mindfulness in clinical practices without mentioning its adverse effects? Given the evidence of how varied and common these effects are, the answer should be no. Okay. Where can we think of an example in the last 5 years where there has been something that's been told that's been good for us when they refused to show us the evidence that it was beneficial and also blacklisted the laundry list of evidence showing the negative side effects? I can't seem to put my finger on it. It's sitting right at the tip of my tongue. This is A Day with Clay. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I was not planning on recording a video today. As for the shirt, don't worry about that. I never wear a shirt around the house, so I figured, why am I going to put on a shirt for you guys? No offense. I wasn't planning on doing a video today, but I saw an article that it kind of drove me nuts, and I want to talk about it. So here we go. It's from the website is called sciencealert.com, and the heading is Meditation and Mindfulness Have a Dark Side That We Don't Talk About. So I just read this about 10 minutes ago, and I'm going to read it to you again. I'm going to stop as we go, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on the topic. I personally have been attempting to keep a routine of mindfulness and meditation, as I think it is a great practice for your overall well-being and your mental health. So let's see what this article has to say. Let's hear out their perspective, and then I'm going to give in my 2 cents. Since mindfulness is something you can practice at home for free, it often sounds like the perfect tonic for stress and mental health issues. Mindfulness is a type of Buddhist-based meditation in which you focus on being aware of what you are sensing, thinking, and feeling in the present moment. I don't need to wear these headphones. I always do this. Okay, all that is like an extra voice inside my head that I don't need. I've got enough voices up in here. I don't need any more. Okay, resuming. The first recorded evidence of this found in India is over 1500 years old. The Dharmatrata meditation scripture written by a community of Buddhists described various practices and includes reports of symptoms of depression and anxiety that can occur after meditation. In my experience, it has helped with that, but let's continue. It also details cognitive anomalies associated with episodes of psychosis, dissociation, and depersonalization when people feel the world is unreal. Maybe the world isn't unreal. Maybe it's just a big simulation. Maybe we're all just cogs in a wheel. Beep, 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 beep. Continuing. In the past 8 years, there has been a surge in scientific research in this area. These studies show that adverse effects are not rare. A 2022 study using a sample of 953 people in the US who meditated regularly showed that over 10% of participants experienced adverse effects and had a significant negative impact on their everyday life and lasted for at least 1 month. Okay, they do have a link to that study of the 935 people, which I will link down below if anyone gives a shit to read it. According to a review of over 40 years of research that was published in 2020, the most common adverse effects are anxiety and depression. These are followed by psychotic or delusional symptoms, dissociation or depersonalization, and fear or terror. Okay, I just want to point out that all of these words are very institutionalizing words. For instance, psychotic. I have my own theories on what, a drug-induced psychosis is. And unfortunately, it's a control mechanism to keep the general population at bay, to make it easier to control, because the people, I'm not going to get into that right now. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll make a whole episode about it, and I'll put it, where? Will I put it right here? Or will I put it up here? Either way, if I make another episode about it, I'll put it up in the corner somewhere. Back to the article. Research also found that adverse effects can happen to people without previous mental health problems, to those who have only had a moderate exposure to meditation, and they can lead to long-lasting symptoms. The Western world has also had evidence about these adverse effects for a long time. In 1976, Arnold Lazarus, a key figure in the cognitive behavioral science movement, said that meditation, when used indiscriminately, could induce serious psychiatric problems such as depression, agitation, and even schizophrenic decompensation. I don't know how I would categorize schizophrenic decompensation. Maybe we should look that up. Okay. How do you spell schizophrenic? Decomposition. Okay. Decompensated schizophrenia is a period when a person with schizophrenia experiences a return of symptoms and an imbalance in their mental state. It can be a devastating disorder that can make it difficult for people to function in their daily lives. Signs of a relapse. Okay. Decompensation in schizophrenia is an acute worsening of symptoms associated with the condition. It generally requires treatment with medication and psychotherapy to help a person reduce their symptoms. Okay, so that implied that there would have to be already schizophrenic symptoms there before they can be worsened. Okay, but let's continue. We got that out of the way. There is evidence that mindfulness can benefit people's well-being. The problem is that mindfulness coaches, video apps, and books rarely warn people about the potential adverse effects. Professor of Management and ordained Buddhist teacher Ronald Purser, 2023 book, McMindfulness, that's a funny name for a book, that mindfulness has become a kind of capitalist spirituality. In the US alone, meditation is worth $2.2 billion. And the senior figures in the mindfulness industry should be aware with the problems of meditation. Okay, now I know every industry that makes money isn't good, but however, this is not a choice. This isn't a McDonald's. This isn't a Starbucks. This isn't something that is plastered everywhere. People go seeking for this. People look up meditation and mindfulness, and they find people that are leaders in the space, and then they pay the money for that service. Right? This isn't a convenience thing. This isn't a all they can afford thing. Another example is grocery store foods in the middle aisle, all the highly processed foods that are the cheapest to buy. So obviously, if you don't have the money to buy the whole foods that are organic and well sourced, they're going to resort to the cheaper option, the more affordable option, which is why that industry is so freaking big in the first place. So this is not comparable to that. So if it's worth $2 billion, it's probably because people are seeing the value in that $2 billion. Okay, let's continue. John Kabat-Zinn, a key figure behind the mindfulness movement, admitted in a 2017 interview with The Guardian that 90% of the research into the positive impacts is subpar. Just because the information is subpar or the research that is done that is subpar, even it's showing the positive outcome, it doesn't mean that it still can't come to the same outcome. It's just that there are holes in the study that could make it better and more concise. In his foreword to the 2015 UK Mindfulness All-Party Parliamentary Report, John Zinn suggests that mindfulness meditation can eventually transform who we are as human beings and individual citizens, as communities and societies, as nations, and as a species. The religious-like enthusiasm for the power of mindfulness to change not only the individual people, but the course of humanity is common among advocates. Even many atheists and agnostics who practice mindfulness believe that the practice has the power to increase peace and compassion in the world. And I think that's a pretty fair statement. Okay, I'm about ready to go off, but I think I'm going to finish reading this article first. Okay, media discussion of mindfulness has also been somewhat imbalanced. In 2015, my book with clinical psychologist Catherine Wilcombe, Buddha Pill, included a chapter summarizing the research on meditation, adverse effects. It was widely disseminated by the media, including a New Scientist article and a BBC Radio 4 documentary. But there was little media coverage in 2022 of the most expensive study in the history of meditation science, which was over $8 million US, funded by research charity, the Wellcome Trust. The study tested more than 8,000 children ages 11 through 14 across 84 schools in the UK from 2016 to 2018. Its research showed that mindfulness failed to improve the mental well-being of the children compared to a control group, and may have even had detrimental effects on those who are at risk of mental health problems. Okay, first of all, let's talk about doing mindfulness activities with children. I don't think you can take a group of people that have, not only they don't have the prefrontal cortex that's designed to be able to make a decision on what they want to do with their lives, such as practicing mindfulness, and then force them to do it. So we're talking about studies that are subpar. I think this is a pretty subpar study. And not only that, but most kids can't even focus for more than 20 seconds. And I'm not even going to get into the reasoning for that. A lot of it has to do with their diet. And so if you have a kid with ADHD caused by excessive amounts of sugar in their system at all times and all these highly refined ingredients, you think they're going to be able to sit through a 10-minute meditation session or a mindfulness practice? No, they're going to want to be kids. They're going to want to be running around. They want to be doing everything that they want to be doing. They have all this energy hyped up inside them. They just want to use it. And I don't think that using mindfulness practices for children is a negative thing at all. I just feel like the kids that were doing it should be making the choice to do it along with their parents, not being just thrown in a study where everyone in the class has to participate, because not all children are designed equally. I digress. Ethical implications. Is it ethical to sell mindfulness apps, teach people meditation classes, or even use mindfulness in clinical practices without mentioning its adverse effects? Given the evidence of how varied and common these effects are, the answer should be no. Okay. Where can we think of an example in the last 5 years where there has been something that's been told that's been good for us, when they refused to show us the evidence that it was beneficial and also blacklisted the laundry list of evidence showing the negative side effects? I can't seem to put my finger on it. It's sitting right at the tip of my tongue. If you know, you know. Moving on. However, many meditation and mindfulness instructors believe that these practices can only do good and don't know about the potential for adverse effects. The most common account I hear from people who have suffered adverse meditation effects is that the teacher don't believe them. They're usually told to just keep meditating and it will go away. Okay, well, that part's a little bit concerning. Research about how... Does anyone else have the problem saying research sometimes? Ugh. Research about how to safely practice meditation has only recently begun, which means there isn't yet clear evidence to give people. There is a wider problem in that meditation deals with unusual states of consciousness, and we don't have psychological theories of mind to help us understand these states. Oh no, are you telling me that scientists don't know about elevated levels of consciousness and they couldn't fathom wrapping their heads around it, let alone understanding it? Maybe if they raised their consciousness themselves, they wouldn't have to worry about those things. Moving on. But there are resources that people can learn about these adverse effects. These include websites produced by meditators who experience serious adverse effects and academic handbooks with dedicated sections to the topic. In the US, there is a clinical service dedicated to people who have experienced acute and long-term problems led by the mindfulness research. Wow. If only they had such resources for people who have bad side effects from things that were given to them without knowing the harmful effects. Anyways, I digress. Moving forward. Is to be used as a well-being or therapeutic tool. The public needs to be informed about its potential for harm. Oh my goodness. What a hypocritical article this is. And it's even funnier that it's called the science alert, when people have been saying trust the science in so many different areas without allowing people to actually ask questions. So here's a question for you. What does mindfulness practices and meditation actually do, or theoretically, what does it do? Now, I may not have all the answers for this. I can only speak from my own experience, but my theory based on my own experience is it brings awareness to self, and then from there brings awareness to everything else. So if people are experiencing symptoms of anxiety or psychosis, and they are saying that it's caused by meditation, okay, I'm just going to have to go off because I think this is very closely tied to my theory around drug-induced psychosis. And I'm not saying that every single schizophrenic or every single psychotic episode that is caused by drugs fits into this one category. However, I think for the majority, or at least a good portion of the events where people are institutionalized into a psychiatric ward for their behavior after they've experienced while being on a drug or a psychedelic is not what they say it is. And I think the same goes for here with meditation. I want to draw an example here. So in the 12-step program for rehabilitation for addicts, the first step is admitting that you're an addict and you need help. So one of the first things that happens when you start a mindfulness practice or meditation is it forces you to look inward at yourself. And what happens if you don't actually like what you're seeing? What happens if you see signs of behaviors and traits that you possess in your daily life that remind you of something that's very unhealthy and is actually harming the people around you that you supposedly love? That could be pretty damaging for people. Let's turn off the AC. And as you sit with these things and you look inside and you reflect and you allow yourself to have time for your mind to be quiet and intake all this information, you're going to start to have realizations about how other things operate. And for people, if they're going from next to no awareness and then having a mindfulness practice that is bringing all this awareness to them and they don't know how to regulate it, like it's a big shock to the system. And if you don't know how to compartmentalize what it is that you're realizing or you're experiencing, how are you supposed to move forward? So I think the issue isn't that people are having mental issues after meditation, it's that they're not being given the tools on how to process the information and of the awareness that they've been given. So that's why I compare it to a drug-induced psychosis. Because people take a substance like mushrooms or any other psychedelic and they experience things. They allow themselves to detach from other parts of their reality to experience things from a different perspective. And a lot of the times, these psychedelic properties can show you things about your world, about yourself, about your environment that you may not have been aware of. And a lot of people don't know how to process that information. Now, all this psychedelic property did was add awareness to your world. And I think a psychotic episode caused by those is when people don't know how to process, they don't have the tools on how to internalize it and how to be with it. And then they just start spewing off all this crazy stuff that they think they've seen or experienced within this psychedelic experience that they've had. So essentially, they just went through an awakening of what reality is at a very quick rate. And now they don't know how to regulate, they don't know how to be, and they just start spewing off to everybody all this crazy nonsense, at least what seems like crazy nonsense to the passerby. A good example is a guy standing on the side of the street yelling at people that, the government is after us, they're trying to kill us, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? They get locked up, they get thrown in a mental institution, they get drugged, they get subdued to stop that behavior. Now, why is that? Well, they're scaring the people that aren't aware of the things that they're already talking about. Is it as bad as they were spewing off to be? Maybe. Who am I to say? But I think it's wrong that they're hiding people that have heightened awareness because of an experience they've had. Because as I've said many times before, once you learn something or experience something, you can't unlearn it, especially if you see it as truth to you. So what I'm trying to say is if someone experiences depression because they realize that all the food that the system is pumping out is all owned by a couple different corporations and their goal is to keep people sick, and we don't have a healthcare system, we have a sick care system that thrives and makes money off of keeping people sick and not actually making people better and not looking towards the root cause of the problem, which in this situation would be giving people the tools and how to work with this new awareness, or giving people the support and the tools to deal with the fact that they just learned that they're actually treating people that they're supposed to love poorly. And that alone can put people in a depressed or anxious state because they don't know how to change what they've been doing all this time and they've actually been harming people. So is meditation and mindfulness practices going to kill you? Is it going to give you mental disorders? I cannot confirm nor deny that it will give you mental disorders. However, I do know that it will bring awareness to your world, and you need to have the support, and you need to have the support in your support networks and tools in order to be able to function in society with these new awarenesses and understand that this life and everything that you're becoming aware of is not happening to you, it's happening for you for a greater purpose. So if they don't have those tools, they're going to struggle with this new information. So my total answer is needs more context. Guys, there's so many ways that we've been manipulated mentally in this life and in this reality, but no matter what, you have the choice on what you're going to do with your circumstances. Thank you so much for watching me ramble about all this bullshit. If you found it interesting, share it with a friend. Like this video. Please share your comments below on what you think about everything that I just said. I know it's going to be highly controversial and it might even piss some people off, but that's okay. Opinions are like assholes and everyone's got one. And guys, if you like this video, there'll be another video either here or here that you can click on to watch. And please subscribe to the channel, which will also be either here or here. I haven't decided yet. See you next time.